Hi, everybody. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about worry. Worry, I think, and worries are something that we can all maybe look into our minds and see that we have in some way, shape, or form or another. And if they kind of go unchecked and we're not aware that we are worrying and for how long or for which parts of our lives there's worry, they can kind of seem to start to maybe bog us down just a little bit. Um, and I'm not sort of suggesting that worry has no place in our hearts and minds. I'm just sort of suggesting that maybe with some mindfulness, if we look at worry, we could kind of see it in its place a little bit and in context of the whole. So, for example, you might have some worry about a loved one, a family member, or a friend. And perhaps that worry, by all means, is very valid that you're concerned about them. Maybe they're going through some tough times at work and they're very stressed out, or maybe they're going through some health issues. So you're thinking about them and you're really kind of concerned about their well being out of your own sort of compassion for this loved one or family member. Um, the worry in this case is not necessarily invalid, but where it starts to get a little bit unruly is when it goes unchecked. So, I, for example, have, a very close family member who is sick. And I've noticed that, you know, my siblings, we're all worried about her. Um, but if I'm not aware of this sort of feeling of like, oh my gosh, I hope she's going to be okay. Oh my gosh, I hope the doctors can help her with this. Oh my gosh, I'm so personally worried about her well being. If I'm not sort of aware of my own feelings and thoughts around my worry about this person, then those kind of worrisome thoughts start to seep into my interactions with her. So, you know, out of my concern for her, I'll be worried about her and want to talk to her about and ask her, like, how is she doing? How does she feel? Is she able to eat? Those types of things. But rather than coming from a place that's, relaxed and peaceful and calm and just kind of the pure compassion, it can come off as something that she should be concerned about because my speech, my thoughts, my essence will be imbued with my own kind of caught upness and my worries. I'm so worried that she's not eating and she's sick and all these things that when I'm asking her, hey, how are you doing? Are you eating? How's it going? That kind of can come off in my speech. And she's, we're we're close, we're loved ones, and she can definitely feel that energy coming off of me. Um, on the other hand, what I've witnessed is if I sort of see my worry in its place, if I begin to recognize that it is because I love her that I think about her, but my concerns about her are not more important than her. Um, so I can kind of set aside my concerns and my worries, sort of see them in their places. Like those are, something that are created by my own sort of experience and see her as somebody who's going through sort of like this bit of a tough or health time, mentally and physically. I can kind of approach her with a more calm attitude, with a more compassionate attitude, and say, how are you doing? Have you been able to eat? Is there anything that I can get you? And there's a difference in how that comes off. And, for me sometimes, and for some of us, I think we can hide our worries from each other. We think that, like, if we put up a strong face, we can sort of say, like, yes, I'm super worried about something, but I'm going to hide it from my loved ones and my family members or the people around me because I don't want them to be worried. But we're actually not such good actors that we can hide that because it comes out in different ways. It starts to slowly kind of fester in our minds and hearts and causes us stress. It causes us anxiety, and that comes off in how we interact with other people. So I think that one thing that we can try here is to, whenever we do feel a sense of worry, not to reject it and say, like, this is wrong. I need to just sort of focus on the bigger picture. Like, I love my mom, and so I'm just focused on if she's okay. Rather, when we start to feel that sort of worry and concern, it's a good moment for us to take a little bit of a pause break and pause and sort of just look directly at that worry and concern. You know, why do we have it? Where is it coming from? Is it something that we are aware of? Because if we glean over and try to like just gloss over our concerns, like that's when it starts to fester. That's when it starts to kind of seep into our interactions and our speech and how we come off towards others. And a lot of the times, I don't think we want to spread our worries to others. Um, so I think that's sort of something that we can use these little moments where we feel any type of worries or concerns as a little mental flag that we maybe need to take a little bit of a pause and kind of have a moment of mindfulness. Sort of see all of our worries and concerns, give them space. Don't try to push them away. Let them sort of come up to the surface and sort of look at them ourselves. In so doing, we can sort of see, like, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of life, this momentary worry of mine on how my mom is doing, health wise, is not as important about how my mom herself is actually doing, and how it's not important as sort of my, compassion, and the compassion that we want to show to someone we love who's going through a hard time. And in that case, the worries that I feel can sort of be put into its context of, like, my worry, it's really not that big of a deal. It doesn't have to have such a stronghold over my life. It can be something that's used as sort of like oh yeah, a mental flag. Um, kind of thing. I think sometimes in our day-to-day lives, we can kind of feel like there's just so much stuff that needs to get done, and there are. And we can kind of move from one thing to another without really taking the time to stop and, you know, actually let our mind have the space it needs to work through some of these worries. We think that, like, there's no time for me to pause and look at my worries, when I should be, taking care of somebody I love or doing something that's really important to somebody else. And in a sense, that's, a bit of something that's holding us back. Because if we don't actually take a little bit of time to pause and look at our sort of concerns and worries, then that stuff starts to spread to others as we're trying to do these compassion activities for others. So, what I'm sort of suggesting is, when you do have worries and moments of concerns, allow yourself the space to look at them fully. And in so doing, you might see that they aren't as big of a deal, or maybe they're just not as important as, the actual topic of your concern or worry, like a loved one, a family member, you know. Um, But once you start to look at your worries in your own mind, you might be able to sort of put them to rest a little bit better. And that's what I've noticed personally, anyway. Um, and so it's, again, your worries are not something to reject by any means. They could kind of be sort of a reminder for you to take a little moment to check in with yourself. But that little moment of checking in with yourself can really sort of help you put them to rest, your worries, kind of see them in context of the bigger picture, because our worries are fleeting, they're not lasting forever, they're not going to be around forever. But what really does last is like the compassion that we show other people. And I know that we don't want our compassion to sort of be held back by any hint of worrying that we might exude to others. So just that little bit of mindfulness might be helpful. I've personally found that to be sort of helpful in my interactions with my family members and loved ones anyway. Um, so I wanted to share that technique with everybody else. And if you find it helpful, that's wonderful. If not, like definitely, you know, let's talk about it. Leave a comment and we can sort of see like what works for you might be helpful for somebody else too. This is just something that's kind of worked for me when going through some family health issues. And I've noticed a positive change and just sort of once I'm able to put aside my kind of, strong anxieties and worries, once I sort of see them in context of a bigger picture, it has a positive effect on your loved ones. So, something to maybe try out. Thank you so much for listening.